Hello, everyone. This is JD Calderon, and this is Indy Comics Explained. And yet again, I brought on another fantastic guest. But before we start, please hit like, hit subscribe, share out the video, let everybody know we're here. And once again, please let everyone know that the Oswald Chronicles is currently on Kickstarter. These are the two books being offered. So, that's enough about me. Let's get to our guest. Thank you so much. How you doing?
Hi. Hi, JD. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming on. I mean, I've been observing your work for a while. And I've been I've been really intrigued. I've been really looking forward to this. So, all right, all right. You're into it for 11 campaigns, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Now, Boston Metaphysical, huge success. Congratulations. Great looking book, beautiful book. Now, why the Victorian setting? Why that? Why did you start in that? I mean, because it looks gorgeous and it's very interesting. But I mean, what got you interested in that?
Well, I'm a huge history buff, and actually, I'm pretty much all ages. I love history, and when putting together this story originally, it was. Well, I don't know if you know the story. Other people, a lot of people have heard it. It originally started as a TV pilot while I was at UCLA Film School, but it was just a straight kind of period detective piece set in the late 1800s. And one of the reasons I set it in the late 1800s is because in American history, that was a very central time where everything was changing in this country, social, cultural, technological. And, some people could adapt and some people couldn't. And, some people loved it and some people hated it. So for a writer, that was like ripe for organic conflict. And also the tech at that age, at that time, it's more easily explainable to your audience. It's what we would call analog. And so you can see the gears, you can see how something works. You can easily explain it in very short time, either in prose or in comics, and people get it. Unlike a lot of technology today where you need a master's degree to understand what's going on. So a lot of that had to do with all of that. Is, I love science fiction, I love history, and when a friend of mine suggested that I turn it into my period, detective pilot into a steampunk universe, I went like, that's an idea, because I had heard of steampunk before, wasn't that familiar with it, did some research, and I said, this is right up my alley, because I can do cross genre with paranormal. I can do this. I can do that. And it just opened up the whole world for me. And plus the aesthetic is just so gorgeous. Yes. It's beautiful to look at. So you got these wonderful visuals. And even though Boston Metaphysical is set in a fictional alternate history of the United States, it's still grounded in real life and with some, real historical figures. And so there was, like I said, a lot of organic conflict between race and class and cultural and so much other stuff that, it was fun. It's fun to play in this world.
No, it looks incredible. Now, I see that you write prose as well as comics, right? And screenplays. So, so how do you find the differences between those different, styles?
The different mediums. Yeah. Prose is kind of refreshing for me because there's no budget limitations.
Right.
As you know, comic books are expensive to produce. So there are generally page limitations you have to follow because you have an artist to pay, a colorist, a letterer, and you have to take that into account. With prose, you can just you can just go, and then, you go back and obviously you edit and rewrite and you edit and rewrite,
Right.
but you don't worry so much about the page count. Unless you're getting a novel up to like 100,000 words, then you probably want to hire, you really want to hire an editor to help you trim that down.
Yes. I've had my editor complains to me about that. Whenever I hand him a prose piece, he's just like, okay, doesn't need to be quite this beefy. Right? Yeah. So I mean, working with art, like, how do you obviously when you're working with prose, you're just working with yourself in your own headspace, right? So when you have to convey these messages and these images to an artist, right? You have to write down those those messages. Where are you finding do you find it easier or more difficult to do that? Like what's your strategy? Like how do you deal with that?
Well, it depends on the relationship with the artist. Gwen Tavares was the artist for the 4 sequels that we're kickstarting the trade right now, so that'll combine there. And when I first start working with an artist, I'm pretty detailed about what things look like, where they are. I add in a lot of visuals. I find images on the internet, not to copy, but to inspire. And just to say like, hey, it kind of needs to look like this. This is the kind of feel I'm looking for. So they have all the information they need. I was very fortunate in that Gwen loves research herself, and she would get so detailed. She would do research on the type of socks that men and women wore. And so she would have, how many buttons were on the shoes. So she would have the right enough buttons, because she loved to do that kind of stuff. So, which was awesome. But yeah, it wasn't, to me, it really wasn't that difficult, particularly working with Gwen, because she herself was so detail oriented. That may change as, I work with different artists. It was, it was a little different working with, Roberta in Granada, who does the 10-page short story in the trade. And so, I have to refresh my memories. Like, okay, she's not Gwen, so I need to go back and make sure she has all this information that, I worked with Gwen for 4 years. So, you develop a shorthand with your artist. And I used to kind of laugh because there would be a ghost in the scene. And I'd say like, oh yeah, remember to put in that glowy stuff, in the email. Don't forget the glowy stuff. And she knew what I was talking about because we'd been working together for 4 years. So yeah, I mean, you have to eventually establish that kind of relationship in shorthand with your artist. So when I say do the glowy stuff, they know what I'm talking about. And there's like, oh yeah, I'll do the glowy stuff. And we're all good. But yeah, it's just, as you know, a script, a comic script is simply a communication document to your artist, your colorist, and to your letterer. And so you have to include as much as you can, but yet balance that by not micromanaging them.
Right.
Because you want your artist to be an artist. And you've hired them for a reason. You want them to go. It's like, here's your script. Go be brilliant. But yet you want to give them enough information so they're not floundering.
Right. Now, when you find yourself writing your scripts, there tends to be two styles, right? There's the DC style script, the Marvel style script. I don't know how familiar you are with them, but which one do you find? Now, DC style tends to be like panel 1, scene 1, page 1, so on and so forth. Marvel tends to be a little bit more loose, where it's could be like as loose as a page description, and then they'll let the artist just draw whatever, and then they'll come in and fill in the dialogue later. I mean, how do you find yourself? How do you work?
I actually wasn't taught any one of those styles, and nor, I have to admit, I'm not a Marvel or DC fan. I came into comics very late in life. My brother probably has one of the largest collections of graded Daredevil comics in in the known universe, I think. But I was never big into superhero, and they just didn't interest me. And it wasn't until writing the script of, Boston Metaphysical, and it made the rounds, got some good feedback, but that was before steampunk had made, the mainstream, made it into mainstream. And so it was suggested that I turned it into a graphic novel to then resell it back to Hollywood. The only problem with that is that in the process of doing that, I learned that I really loved writing comics. And so, here I am, still writing them. But in order to write the original graphic novel, I went back to school and took sequential art classes. And I was actually taught by Nunzio De Felipe, his wife, Christina Ware, who've done a bunch of stuff for Ani and other folks. And it's not written quite like a TV script, but it's similar. I do, it's usually one page, and, it can overlap into another page if, panels need to, but I'm not sure what style or category that falls under.
No, I got you. I'm self-taught as well. Even I sat in on a class by Denny O'Neil for a semester, which was cool. But yeah, I write some weird hybrid style. So I tend to just write a scene, and then I put in all the dialogue, facial emotions, and all that stuff. And then I hand it off to the artist, and I let them do the breakdown, however they want to do it. And they do the transitions and handle that stuff. So yeah. So no, I get you. I know exactly what you mean, because I see a lot of guys, they go in the back of the books. Sometimes these graphic novels, they'll have like how the writer did that. And I didn't have that when I was a kid. So I was just like, they're able to at least see what a professional did, and they're able to copy it. So yeah. But yeah, I get exactly. Hold on, let me put this up. This is from Andrew Wilson. I pledged for the Oswald Chronicles, JD. I also pledged for Boston Metaphysical Society, the Book of Demons, and audio drama. CD are in my car. Thanks, man. There you go.
Thank you, Andrew.
Yes, Andrew's awesome. And C. Michael Lanning, nothing wrong with not being a Marvel or DC fan. This is very true. So.
Yeah, but what that class taught me when I was learning sequential art, and it introduced me to indie comics, and it kind of pissed me off because they were terrific, and no one had told me about them before.
Right.
Like, someone had failed to tell me that indie comics exist, and it wasn't all about superheroes. And suddenly this whole world opened up for me, and these really cool and wonderful stories. And, I'm very happy being in this space. For me, it just, it leaves me a lot of room to breathe creatively, professionally, and do what I want to do.
Yeah, no, I get you. I get you 110%, because it's one of those things. If you walk into a comic book store, you only think Marvel and DC exist, and on occasion Spawn and Walking Dead. Right? If you're lucky, you'll catch Hellboy.
Yeah, I mean, and there's nothing wrong with being a Marvel and DC fan either. I mean, it's all good. It's whatever you enjoy.
Listen, a lot of creators and a lot of great work over there. That's all I know. I mean, I grew up on it.
Oh, yeah.
You were talking about Daredevil, Frank Miller's Daredevil run.
Yeah.
I live and die with that one. So it's yeah. Walter Simonson's Thor, John Byrne, all that stuff. It's just fantastic stuff. But you want something. I want something a little different. That's why I love my indies. So
yep.
Oh, okay. So writing screenplays as opposed to writing a comic script. Like, what's your big takeaway from that? Like, what's the thing that you find either most interesting or most difficult about that transition?
Well, fortunately, both are a type of visual writing. So the transition isn't what I would call abrupt. You do have to start thinking in terms of cause and effect within panels, and each panel, and your bottom panel. So you turn the page, and and pacing. The pacing's a little different,
Mhm.
but the big thing is you are essentially the director, which in a screenplay, oh, God help you if you put any directions in that script. You do not want to do that. I mean, it's just a skeleton for the director and the producer and for everybody else, but that's it. But in a comic strip, you literally are everything. You're the writer, you're the director, and if you're like me, you produce your own comics, you're also the producer.
Right.
So you wear all those hats.
This is very true. Okay, cool. I know you're working with a publisher, right? You're getting it. You have your book in Diamond and everything else. Now,
Yeah.
do you feel that's helped your campaign sales? And do you think like there's some synergy between those two different platforms? You know, selling through retailers and selling through Kickstarter.
You know, I don't really know, and I certainly don't have any data to prove that, because I think there's Kickstarter people, and I think there's comic store people, and they're both wonderful people, or convention people. I have fans who wait till WonderCon. They don't contribute to Kickstarter, but they wait till I show up at WonderCon because it's fun for them to come pick up the latest thing.
Right.
And I met a few people, at cons who come by my table and they said like, oh, this is on my pull list. And I'll go like, oh, that's great. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you picking up the comic. And then they'll ask me when's the next one out. And then they'll walk away. And they won't mind. And that's fine too, because they're going to go buy it at their local comic book store, which is great too. That's, to me, that's a win-win. That's a win for me. That's a win for the comic book store. That's a win for the publisher. And the publisher is Source Point Press, by the way, as you probably know.
Yeah.
They've been great. And it probably has impacted the Kickstarter. There's just no way for me to, no data for me to look at. Yeah.
Gotcha. Now, with working with SourcePoint, how did you get into that? Like, I mean, did you meet them at a show? Did you email them? How did that working relationship work out?
That relationship actually started a long time ago. Travis McIntyre and I had started communicating, I think, over Facebook and on Kickstarter, because we were, helping each other on Kickstarter. And that's when SourcePoint was pretty much just it was a small press, just focused on horror books. And so we would chat, every once in a while, and became Facebook friends. And then I went to Boston Comic Con when it was still at the Seaport. And we met there and we chatted, and he donated a book. And so, the relationship grew over time. And I'd also met Bob Sally, who eventually became part of SourcePoint before I did. But it really came down to when, so I've known these guys for quite a while.
Right.
When Bob messaged me and just said, I want you to become part of SourcePoint. You have to talk to Travis. You have to become part of the team. And I was like, okay, Bob, that's an interesting idea. And I think by that time I had the original 6 issues out, and I was starting to work on the sequels. And so I had a conversation with Travis, and we worked it out, and here I am.
Nice. Okay.
So it was a relationship that was it developed over years. So it wasn't anything overnight or a particular thing. I think it was just a combination of things over the years.
Now we've both done a lot of these, right? Kickstarters and things. So yes. we always have to like generate that form of excitement for it, right?
Yeah.
It's not just about just getting the cash and just rubbing it on our heads, right? So it's like, what is it that for this campaign that you did new that excites you?
Well, there's 2 things. One, I got this beautiful cover by Marguerite Savage. and I had really wanted to work with her. And we had communicated in the past for her to do some other things, but she was busy. And so I guess I caught her right at the right time. I said, "Can you have time to do a cover for me?" And she said yes. And I said, "Oh, that would be freaking awesome." And I had already started up a professional relationship with Roberta in Granada, who had done a pinup for me for a previous Kickstarter. And I said, "Are you available to do a 10-page short?" Because, she's very busy doing Doctor Who. And she says, "Yeah, if you can get me the script between, this time and, this X amount of time, I have these 2 weeks." And I said, "Okay." And so that's what we did. So being able to work with both of them was very exciting to me. And I was thrilled to have them on board. So those are the two real exciting things, being able to work with two such talented individuals.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. What is it? I'm doing a metal trading cards. I love those things. So, what do you see in the fandom markets that excites you? Like something that's coming up. Like it could be anything, a book, movie. Like what is it that excites you whenever you walk into these markets? Like So.
Well, I'm eagerly awaiting the trade paperback for Saga, for the new issues of Saga.
Yes.
Yeah, that's definitely on the list. Yeah, I'm one of those people who waits for the trade. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh my.
Oh no. Yeah, I'm one of them.
Yeah.
So I understand those people who say like, "Well, when you can do this as a trade?" Like, well, okay, it's coming.
Yeah.
What else? I mean, there's some novels out there that are on my hit list that I want to grab, like the new John Scalzi, Kaiju Preservation Society. If you haven't read him, he's hysterical and just plus a great human being. And Rebecca Rowan Horse's Fever Star. It's the second in her new epic pre-Columbian fantasy series.
Nice.
And the other thing is, because I also listen to audiobooks a lot because I do that at the gym and when I'm traveling. My big audiobook that I'm waiting for is the 4th book in it's called the Dandelion Dynasty series by Ken Liu. These things are just epically long. I can't believe how long. I mean, I think the last book was like 1,000 pages or something. But like I said, they're great for a long trip. But one of the best things about Ken Liu's series is in the second book, the second novel. It's a 4-novel series. He has the most awesome airship versus dragon battle I have ever read. It's just, I can't tell you how amazing this thing is. So yeah, if you can imagine, the tit for tat between a fleet of airships and a squadron of dragons. Yeah, this is amazing. Yeah.
Okay, no, that sounds really nice. Yeah. That sounds incredible. All right, cool. Who are your creative inspirations? Like, who do you like? It doesn't have to be a person. Like, what are the stories you go back to time and again? And it can be from either books, comics, movies. It doesn't really matter.
Oh well, right off the top of my head, the one that if I have to go reread or re-listen to would be the Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells. And if you haven't read or listened to them, I actually suggest you listen to the audiobooks because the gentleman who reads them, Kevin R. Free, is amazing. And you will be laughing your ass off. I mean, this is just the funniest thing. It's the Murderbot Diaries. It's won every award on the face of the planet. Are you familiar with it?
No, I'm not actually. No.
Okay, you actually need to go write this down right now. I'm gonna go make you write down. Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells. You will thank me later.
Okay.
Trust me on this one.
Cool. I probably won't listen to it. I will read it though.
Okay, but yeah, it's so fun. It's what's really nice. One, the conflict and the characters are great, but it's also funny. So that's so much of what's coming out now tends to be a little depressing, and dark. And this is, it does have its dark moments, but yeah, you'll have fun.
Okay, that's cool. Now, it's funny. I was a voracious reader of books from the age of about like 10 to about 27, 28. And then the weirdest thing happened to me. Roger Zelazny passed away.
Oh, yeah.
And I would go to a bookstore every week, right? And I would buy one book every week. Yeah. And invariably, every year, there'd be one book by Roger.
Of course.
And when he passed, I stopped doing it. It was like, that one really killed me. I was just like, I still read books. I still buy them. I just don't go to a bookstore every week. And, so I stopped becoming as voracious a reader as I once was. Now I'm probably reading only a book a month if I'm lucky. I'm reading tons of comics though. Like, I read a couple hundred pages a night.
Yeah. No, I read comics as well. I do reviews for Fanbase Press. And I originally started doing that to educate myself.
Right.
So I would learn more about comics and see different comics and see everything. And currently I'm reviewing, I think there's one more issue out of Rain, which, it was a story originally by Joe Hill. And that is very good. That's been really interesting. And not in an art style that I would normally like, but it works so well for this story that, I like more realistic type of an art style, but if it fits the story, then I will change my mind completely. The graphic novel adaptation of The Handmaid's Tale was like that. It was really interestingly done, and the lettering for that was just fantastic. I think if the lettering had been any different, it would have ruined the book. Nice. So I'd have to go dig into my pile over there to remember the name of the letterer. And so if you're the letterer, I apologize for not remembering your name. But I know a lot of people don't talk about letterers for comics when they do the reviews and things like that. But, quite frankly, bad lettering can make or break a comic. I mean, everything else can be perfect and beautiful, the story perfect, the art amazing, and bad lettering can tank it. So, have respect for your letterers.
Yes. Lettering is one of those things I found that if it's done right, if it's done correctly, it's invisible.
Yeah.
You're right. You never notice it. It's there and it's perfect, and you don't ever, and that's how you know you have a fantastic letter.
But also if it adds a layer of subtext.
Right.
That didn't even know the story needed. And that's what happened in The Handmaid's Tale. Just the way the lettering was done was just so interesting. It was very spare and fragile, and that's what they were. These women were alone and fragile, but yet not.
Right.
So it's really interesting. So yes.
No, that's incredible. Hold on, let me post a couple of things. This was from earlier. See, Mário says the great thing about comics is big enough for everybody. He says Ken Lau's pretty amazing, especially Paper Menagerie. And he says agreed. Lettering is very important. Yes. So, all right. Here's one. You just mentioned the person that broke me, but here's one for you.
Okay.
What's the creative voice that shadowed you as a creator? Okay, so who's the person or the creator or the work that when you read it, you were like, Jesus Christ, why am I writing? Who gave you that crisis of faith? And then how did you bring yourself back from it? Because Joe Hill is the person that did it to me. He did it to me.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
I'm
he did it to
sorry.
me with
I'm
Lock
sorry
and
if
Key.
I opened up an old wound.
No, that's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's because for myself, I remember I was in bed reading Lock and Key, and I was just sitting there. I read it, and I was just like, "Why am I even writing? Why am I writing comics?" You know. But it forced me to, as they say, man up and just go for it. Because that's what it is. I have a character named Dauphin who's a bit of a coward, but whenever he faces a great evil, he runs and then he stops. Then he's like, you can do this, and he turns around and he runs back at it. So that's what it did for me. But I'm sorry, but who
No,
would you think?
that's fine. Well, started with prose and then went into screenwriting and then into comics and then back into prose again. But the author in question would probably be Lois McMaster Bujold.
Yes, I know this lady.
You know who she is?
I have read one or two of her books. Yes. She's incredible.
Yes, she is incredible. But I was privileged a number of years ago, this is pre-pandemic, to be on a panel with Harry Turtledove.
Mm-hmm.
And someone asked me about, who I respected and who I wanted to be like. And I said, Lois McMaster Bujold. And I said, I don't know if I will ever be as good as her, but I can try.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And that's all you can do, is you can work at it and you can try. And literally I've read some of her books and there'll be like one sentence and I'll go like, this is perfect. We're done.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I got you completely. Yeah. I always battle myself. I tell myself, well, I have to try to be a better writer today than I was yesterday, and then tomorrow better than today.
That's all you can do, is just learn from your mistakes and keep practicing and practicing, and then try something outrageously different, fall on your face than that, which is okay. But then take away from that and bring it to your other writing. So it's like during the pandemic, it was tough on everybody. But I started doing a lot of flash fiction just because it didn't require a lot of commitment to finish something, but it did require, effort and some creative thought behind it. So I could exercise my creative brain, but keep it down to like 100 words or 200 words or something like that. And that proved to be a really good exercise. I actually came up with a story at some point that I want to write into a full novel that I'm love to have time to go do that.
So here's a question for you. As a writer, like how many hours a day do you find yourself writing? Like do you commit yourself to a set word count, or do you commit yourself to an hour count?
It depends on if I'm running a Kickstarter or not running a Kickstarter. When I'm running a Kickstarter, I generally don't have time to write.
Gotcha.
And so when I'm not, it's usually about I don't generally do word counts. It's usually just time in the seat, and 3 to 4 hours. And if I get 700 words done, it's like yay. If I get more, it's like yay.
Yeah.
I don't worry about it too much.
Gotcha. Now I forgot the name of the author. His thing was 1,000 words a day, and he was just like, I think as another writer that I know, he was like, yeah, he would say he would get 1,000 words a day. He would get it done in the first 4 or 5 hours a day. It's all right. The rest of the day is mine, so I can just do whatever.
No, that's fine too. I mean, you have to find whatever methodology works for you, and it's not going to be the same for everybody. So yeah, if that works for you, great. There's another, I forgot the name of it. There was some sort of methodology where it was like 25 minutes and then you take 10 minutes off and then 25 minutes, and then you take 10 minutes, you get up and you do something else, and you literally have a timer, and that's worked very well for some people. That's great. Go do that. Yeah. Whatever, just keep playing with whatever methodology works for you and whatever it is, and stick with it.
Yep. No, I agree 110%. I mean, that method would drive me nuts.
Yeah, I couldn't do that. That would just, yeah.
Because I could sit down for a couple hours and just write, but after that couple hours, I'll want to go watch TV or do something. But
yeah, I usually max out at about 4. If I'm writing steadily, at 4, my brain is I'm done.
Right.
And then I have to go do something else. Yeah.
Yeah. At that point, like I doing a bunch of Kickstarters, I'll write for those 2 hours, go pack a box.
Yeah.
Do something totally mindless. It's like we'll go pack a box or watch Supernatural or something.
There you go.
All right. Now you had mentioned earlier about working on an audio drama. I mean, what was the audio drama and what was that like?
Trying to do a long story short here. A number of years ago, I think it was Gene Turnbow from Sci-Fi Radio. He and I met a long time ago, and we talked about, he goes, I think, I'd love to see Boston Metaphysical as like a live, sort of like a live radio stage play. And I said, yeah, that would be really interesting. Could you send me samples of scripts when you have time? And I don't remember if he did or not, but anyway, that kind of got lost in translation and time. And then I met Eddie Louise, and she and her husband, Chip Michael, wrote and co-produced an audio drama called Sage and Savant. It's a steampunk time-traveling show that was on for 4 years. Very, very good. And she and I met through conventions, became friends, and we were at the Nebula conference together. This is all pre-pandemic. And she sat me down and she said, I think, you have to turn Boston Metaphysical into an audio drama. She goes, you absolutely have to. And I said, well, if I do, you and Chip you're going to have to help me, because I have no idea what I'm doing here. And so we talked about it a little bit, and then, life moves on, pandemic hits. And I think to myself, well, I'm going to apply for at the time there's a California small business grant for small businesses. And so I was able to get one, and I thought, okay, I can't go to cons, my major resource for income. And so I need to pivot the business. And so I got a hold of her and I said, will you come on board? And, your husband Chip is the audio engineer and the director, and he also ended up being the composer. And so they became my production team. And I sent out casting notices. I became a producer as well as the writer. Eddie Louise came on board as my script editor, and also, really honed my skills on how to write an audio drama. And so word went out. We got some great talent on board. We recorded everything, and we started recording, and I ran a Kickstarter for it last October, which was successful. And it's now out in CD and flash drive form. Actually, we have a radio drama package within our current Kickstarter, so people can pick up the CD. In time, it will be on some sort of downloadable platform. I've narrowed it down to 2 hosting sites of where it's going to place, but that won't be for a little bit. But yeah, that's kind of how that evolved. Is I was just looking to pivot the business, not knowing how long this pandemic was going to go on.
Now, who did you find yourself directing the actors in there? Or?
I wanted to, but it quickly became apparent to me that Chip, who'd been doing it for Sage and Savant for a number of years, was way better at it than I was. So I essentially shadowed him, but we talked about a lot of things. off on the side.
Right.
and I learned a lot. If we continue on, we'd probably do 1 or 2 more seasons. And and if he's available, I would love him to direct the second season. And then by that time, I would probably have enough experience observing and shadowing him to direct, the third season.
Gotcha. All right, cool. Now, when you're listening to them, I went to film school and I did a couple of these short movies, right? And I found that when working with less experienced actors, I had to do a lot of rewriting on my scripts to get them to flow better with the person, right?
Uh-huh.
Did you find yourself? I don't know the level. Did you find yourself having to do that at some point?
No.
Okay, good.
No. Our actors they're all trained they're all voice actors. I mean, that's
Gotcha.
what they do. And we found out later that the gentleman who played Thomas Ederson, his name is H.B. Gibson, that in fact, the Ghost Ship, Boston Metaphysical Society, it's called the Ghost Ship, the audio drama. This was his first credit as a voice actor. We were shocked. This man is so good. You will just, if you listen, the whole thing is very immersive. Chip did an amazing job with the audio engineering, and kudos to all the actors. They really did a tremendous job, and everyone should be very proud of the work they did. Yeah, it's also exhausting and takes a lot of time.
Yes. Yeah. I ended up I never got any I had maybe one professional. Everybody else was just my friends. So I had to work to their strengths.
Yeah. I mean, fortunately with the grant, I was able to, offer not a great rate for them, but it was, something. And and as anybody who knows who works for me, they get paid on time.
Right. Yes, that's important.
And everyone got along really well too, which was wonderful. Some of them did know each other beforehand. What was really great is when I was at New York Comic Con, the woman who played Caitlin O'Sullivan, her name's Emily C.A. Snyder, was able to come work with me on a Friday. And also HB came, the one who played Thomas Edison. He came on Saturday to help me. But Emily stayed in character as Caitlin like the whole day.
Nice.
She was so exhausted by that evening that when she got home, of course, I got back to my hotel and sent her a little email saying, "Thank you for coming. You were so great. You were so awesome." And I didn't hear back from her. And I said, "That's fine. She's busy." Turns out she basically fell on the bed unconscious and didn't wake up till the next morning.
Wow.
And then emailed me and said, I just woke up. But yeah, both she and HB were great that they could come on down, and they had a lot of fun at New York Comic Con too.
Nice. Okay, cool. Do you want me to pull up the campaign real quick?
Sure. That'd be great.
Cool. There we go. All right. So here we go. Do you want me to play the video?
If you want. It's pretty short.
Why not? Let's try it.
Hi, my name is Madeleine Holly-Rosing, and I'm the writer-creator of the steampunk supernatural series, Boston Metaphysical Society. Welcome to our Kickstarter to print the trade paperback of Volume 2. If you're not familiar with the series, it's about an ex-Pinkerton detective, a spirit photographer, and a genius scientist who battles supernatural forces in late 1800s Boston. Now, Volume 2 will compile the previously published sequels, The Scourge of the Mechanical Men, The Spirit of Rebellion, Ghosts and Demons, and The Book of Demons into one trade paperback. But what makes this trade special is that it will include an exclusive brand new 10-page story with art by Roberta Ingranata, who is currently drawing Doctor Who, and a cover by the amazing Marguerite Savage. And at 176 pages, it's going to be a huge trade paperback. If you're missing Volume 1, Don't worry, as it'll be available in both print and digital versions. We also have a brand new steam engine lapel pin and special limited reward tiers that include our audio drama, The Ghost Ship. The best part is that it's done and ready to go to the printers. So please check out our reward tiers and pledge today. Thank you in advance for your support.
Yeah, that's me with hair and makeup done. Yeah, I don't do that very often.
Look, you look fantastic either way. So.
Well, thank you.
So I mean, the campaign is doing fantastic. So I mean, congratulations on that. And is this the cover you were talking about?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's
a
beautiful cover.
Yeah, as the story has evolved, the African American woman you see on the cover, her name is Alma Bryant. She's an amateur scientist, and I introduce her in The Spirit of Rebellion, which is our second sequel, and made her part of the team.
Nice.
So it rounds it out very nicely.
So you said this is volume 2, 176 pages. Volume 1, how many pages does that run?
156.
Nice.
That is our original 6-issue miniseries that we first started with. This is the volume of which everything sprung.
Cool. Now, how I know this is looking into the future, but how are you looking forward to an omnibus in your future?
That I don't know. I mean, right now I'm just focusing on. Well, there's two things. One is my next series arc, which will be 4 issues long. I have a draft done of the first issue and started the second issue. It actually takes place in Colorado Springs. I don't want to give away too much in case people haven't read, because it all kind of leads up to it by the end of the Book of Demons. And where I introduce some new characters and some old characters come back that we've met previously, and I'm having a lot of fun with that. And the second thing is when I'm done with this Kickstarter, I'm going to be writing a story for Lady Mechanica.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. So my husband and I were privileged to have dinner with Marcia Chen and Joe Benitez and Beth Sotelo at WonderCon. So we got to meet the rest of the team over there, which is a ton of fun, and they do fabulous work.
Yeah.
But you already know that.
I have the first volume of Lady Mechanica. It's a beautiful book.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, this looks really awesome. Now, with Source Point, are you? They've released the first volume, right?
Correct.
Now,
I'm sorry. The cover of the volume 1 that you see there is actually our. If you go back up again, there you go. That's our second cover. That's our second printing. Oh, one more. Yeah. Keep going, and there we go. That's our second printing cover by Roberta Ingranata.
Cool, nice.
Yeah.
All right, no, it looks incredible. You're doing great, and I'm sure you're gonna do even better. So it's like, yeah, that's fantastic. All right, cool. I mean, like I said, I don't even know what to say. It looks great. I'm gonna. Like I said, okay. I will back it myself at some point.
Well, thank you. That's very nice of you. Much appreciated.
It looks incredible. I have the sense that I'm going to be nothing but floored when I get it. So, all right. So, Madeleine, we've been at this for a little bit. We're close to the end, but we're not there just yet, right? Okay. Because I have a bunch of goofy questions I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
Right. So, but before we get to that, please let everybody know where they can find you and your work.
You can find me BostonMetaphysicalSociety.com, also Facebook, Boston Metaphysical Society Comic. Twitter is M Holly-Rosing. Instagram is MC Holly and the numeral 1. And of course, on Kickstarter until May 12th, we will be running the campaign.
All right, cool. All right. So, like I said, onward and forward to these goofy questions that I asked everyone. So, all right. So you're working with, your artist. You have your book, right? And if you had the choice of any cover artist, living or dead, and don't worry about budget, who would you want to get to illustrate a cover for you?
Right now, probably Joe Benitez. If I can, be like, hey, Joe, I'm doing a story for you. You think maybe we could do a thing?
Nice. Okay, that's fair. He's an incredible artist. I mean, yeah.
Oh, he is. Oh my God, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
and the other one is Abigail Larson.
Abigail Larson. I'm not
She did Penny Dreadful.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I love the show. I tried ordering the first volume and I never got it, and I was just like, so I have to try again.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I was really upset. I was like, and because of that, I never ordered the second one. So, but I'll get my hands on it. Now, so let's say you got the call up from the big companies, right? And they said, Madeleine, whatever book you would like, whatever IP you want to do, doesn't matter from which company it is, you pick one. If you had your druthers, what property would you like to work on?
That's a really hard question. I do like to play in other people's sandboxes because it's fun, and also if it's a comic, I can write it, and then usually I just hand it over and say, here, you deal with production. I don't have to do that, which is always nice. Wow. I really haven't thought about it that hard. I mean, when Lady Mechanica came, I just okay, this is a really good fit. But right now I can't think of, unless possibly Monstrous. Marjorie Liu's Monstrous. Yeah.
Yeah. I find her very unfair. She's like an excellent writer. She's a genius and she's beautiful. I'm like, come on, really? You hit the trifecta. I'm like, what is this? This is smarter than everybody else, better writer than everybody else, and you're gorgeous. Okay.
Hey, it happens.
Yes, it does. Apparently, I was just like, okay, yeah. I was like, all right, I was like, God bless, and where's that next hardcover? So yeah, so all right. So now I have what I like, basically the comparatives. So I'll softball you with a couple of them, and then we'll work our way in. Right?
Okay.
So Godzilla or Gamera?
Godzilla.
Okay. See, the other question is, you're not into superhero comics. I don't want to ask it, and it's one that's reserved primarily for them. It's so I'm not going to even go there. So we'll go with this: Robert E. Howard or Fritz Lieber?
Wow. I'm trying to remember. It's been a long time since I've read either one. Can I say Ben Bova instead?
Sure. Why not?
If we're talking about old white guy sci-fi writers, yeah, there's a certain genre of old white guy sci-fi writers.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. That's okay. Fair enough. Don Bluth or Chuck Jones? I don't know if you're familiar with either one of them. So.
Chuck Jones I heard of, but I'd say Don Bluth. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chuck Jones is primarily famous for Bugs Bunny.
Yeah. Okay. I knew the name, but yeah.
Uh, um, Labyrinth or Pan's Labyrinth?
That's also a tough one. Probably Labyrinth because I'm not a big horror fan.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
I will watch some horror, but yeah, Guillermo del Toro tends to do really weird things.
Yes. I agree. Lord of the Rings or Star Wars?
Lord of the Rings.
Okay. Why?
I think it has more depth to it.
Mm-hmm.
And Star Wars.
Okay.
I mean, I love Star Wars. Who doesn't love Star Wars? But unfortunately, the sequels have not quite lived up to. They could. I'm trying to be diplomatic here. They could have been better.
Yes.
Not that they were bad, but they could have been better. Yeah.
I don't agree. I think a few of them were quite bad. I like one of them.
Okay.
I like Rogue One. The rest of them are like.
I loved Rogue One. Oh, I loved Rogue One. Yes. Absolutely.
Yes. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle or Agatha Christie?
I would probably say Agatha Christie because I think she's a better writer.
I think so too.
Yeah.
It was weird when I was about 12, 13 years old. I got into a big Agatha Christie kick, and I probably read like 6 or 7 novels in a row from her. So, yeah, I ended up.
Yeah. I mean, I like the concept of Sherlock Holmes. I loved the plays and the series that was done by. Oh my God, he's passed away. It's a very, very old series, and I was actually in London and saw them on stage in The Secret of Sherlock Holmes. And I see their faces. I can't remember their names. Maybe someone can Google and put it in the comments. But actually reading it, I have a problem with it. So okay. Yeah,
that's fair. The Fifth Element or Stargate?
Stargate by a long shot.
Really? Wow. Now, why is that?
Oh, both my husband were huge Stargate fans. I love the original movie with James Spader, right?
Yes.
The original, James Spader. That was just so much fun. And Kurt Russell. Oh my God, that was just so much fun. And then what Richard Dean Anderson brought to the TV show was very different, but it was also a lot of fun. And in some of the episodes, you really discovered that he knew how to act, and he was really good. But hopefully, I can't imagine he'd ever be watching this. But yes, he did a very fine job. There were episodes there that just floored me. That they were amazing, and introduced the world to Amanda Tapping, who was wonderful, and is doing a lot of directing now, I understand. Cool. But I actually like Stargate Universe the best, and it was the one that didn't have all the comedy attached to it, which I think a lot of people missed. But it was a post 9/11 show, and it just like Battlestar Galactica, the latest one, was also a post 9/11 show, so it had that feel to it. It showed the change in our society. Right. And even though Stargate Universe did have some kind of weird things going on, but yeah, I enjoyed it.
Here's a weird one. I don't know if you'll know these references. Hogwarts or Breakbills?
I know Hogwarts, but not Breakbills.
Yeah, Breakbills from The Magicians. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched like a season of The Magicians, and then it was, it didn't really appeal to me, so I stopped watching it.
Gotcha. The books are so much better.
Okay, yeah, that happens. That happens a lot.
That does happen a lot. The books are so much better. Yeah. All right, we've already asked you a few of these. We'll ask a couple more, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
All right. Oh, Bram Stoker or Mary Shelley?
Mary Shelley.
Oh, why?
Just because she was the, one of the originators of science fiction. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I also think she was. I think it was better written.
Yeah.
Captain Kirk or Captain Picard?
Picard.
Okay, why?
That's an easy one. Oh, he had a lot of class, for one, and it was just a marvel to watch. I mean, he portrayed someone you would follow anywhere. Who would trust in. To me, he just felt more well-grounded. I mean, we all love Captain Kirk. I mean,
yeah,
it's like in one of my critical studies classes at UCLA, studying the Hegelian theory of thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. And what that boiled down to, and I looked at it in regards to character, and that was Kirk. Actually, it was Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, because you have Kirk as synthesis, McCoy is antithesis, and Spock is thesis. But they all work together as a common force, and so it's like, whenever you're putting together your characters, you think of it in terms of Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, but that's what it is. So I kind of stunned my professor with that one, but I said, but it's Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. And she goes, but that's not what we're talking about. I'm like, I don't care. It's Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. Yeah. So.
Nice. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up on this last one.
Okay.
Asimov or Heinlein?
I think as writers, I would say Asimov.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Fair enough. Madeleine, we made it to the end.
We did.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being on the show and asking such interesting questions. That was kind of like, okay, I hadn't thought about that. So now it's fun.
I try to. It's funny. I try to do these as exploratories. I don't know much. I try not to actually know much or anything about the people I interview. I knew you were a writer. I knew you were writing TV and prose. So I was like, I'm a little intimidated, but okay, we can get into it. But I try to deal with it like that. So I'm trying to pull as much information out of you as I can for the new fans, because that's how I see it. I'm a new fan.
Absolutely. Well, great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you. I mean, listen, I love meeting new creators, and it's great. Oh, I'm going to ask you one more question, one more comparative.
Okay.
San Diego Comic-Con or New York Comic-Con?
Oh, that's not fair. That's not fair, because they're like two sides of the same coin. That's not fair. Because San Diego I love because it's, I'm in LA, so that's almost like hometown time. Right. But I lived in New York for 15 years. So when I do New York Comic-Con, when I got there, it was like, I wasn't taking pictures of the Comic-Con. I ran down the street to Carlos Bakery because I hadn't been there in like a decade, and was taking pictures of crumb cake and pies and posting it online. So,
nice.
That's not a fair question.
Fair enough. I live in New York, but I've been to San Diego a bunch of times. So yeah, I know how it is.
I love them both.
All right, cool. So Madeleine, one more time, please let everybody know where they can find you and your work.
BostonMetaphysicalSociety.com, Facebook, Boston Metaphysical Society Comic. I know it's a mouthful. Twitter, M. Holly-Rosing, and Instagram, MC Holly1, and it's in the numeral 1. And of course, we're on Kickstarter right now until the morning of May 12th.
Nice. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I'll be back soon, as everybody knows. I'll be back tomorrow, my 7:30 show. Thank you for coming by. Check out the Oswald Chronicles on Kickstarter, and go check out Boston Metaphysical. I will be backing it. I'll be getting both those volumes. So thank you so much, Madeleine, for being here, and I'll be talking to you all soon. Have a great night.
Thank you very much for having me on.
Anytime. Thank you.